Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Kay. Welcome to my channel.
On my T1, I just don't have enough words to give you the praise you deserve. It's about that time I take a deep dive and I go all in. Faith like I'm walking on water.
This video is going to be a lot different from the normal videos that y'all are used to me posting. Ignore the greasiness on my face, y'all. I just had to moisturize my skin. Because yeah, and then ignore my wig as well. This is just very much, I'm doing this just because I feel like God is calling me to do it. So I wanted to give a part of my testimony. I did record my testimony before, but I feel like with that, I still want to go back and redo it because it wasn't really organized, or like I feel like sometimes I spent a little too long on certain topics and I didn't want to do that. So I am going to remake a testimony video eventually. But this is going to be a part of my testimony, specifically dealing with the incompetent cervix that God healed. Back in 2021, I was already with my husband. He was not my husband at the time. He was my boyfriend. We did get pregnant with our second daughter, his first biological daughter with me, but my second daughter, which is our second daughter. So we got pregnant with her. And that was, till this day, that was the worst pregnancy that I've ever had. And I'm currently on baby number 4. I've had the 4th baby already. She's 9 months now. So just to take y'all back just a little bit, in 2021, when I did get pregnant with Abrielle, it was like a weird beginning process anyway, as far as like how I got pregnant, because I got pregnant, like I had to ovulate late. Nothing was really adding up from the beginning of the pregnancy. And then it was like I was going through so much with me and my husband. We were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. We were bumping heads because we had a whole lot of people in our ear that shouldn't have been in our ear, especially him. So we were like bumping heads like the entire pregnancy, y'all. So I remember around about 6 weeks, like right after I found out I was pregnant with Aubrey, I ended up spotting. And I may try to insert some of those pictures, y'all, because I still have all that stuff on my phone. But I was spotting really, really bad with her. I spotted for literally like the entire first trimester. And I didn't know what it was from. So I was going to the hospital. They're giving me all this paperwork. They're like, oh, it's a subchorionic hematoma, right? Which just means it's a blood clot in your uterus. Okay. So that already was very much different for me. My first baby, I had her fine. I had her at 38 weeks. But like the way that they were talking about my cervix, they were like, this is urgent. Like, you need to sit your butt down. Mind y'all, when I found out I was pregnant with her, I actually had just started nursing school because I always wanted to be a nurse. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to finally take the step. My oldest daughter was 3 going on 4. So I'm like, she's finally about to go to preschool, so it was a great time for me to do it. It was only going to take a year and a half and I would have been out of school and been a LPN. So I took the step of faith, the leap of faith. I got into the school that I wanted to get into, got accepted, started school, and literally the first week of school is when I found out I was pregnant with my second baby. So at that point, I'm already like, okay, what am I going to do, right? But I knew, like, mind y'all, I had just quit my full-time job at Apple. I quit that so that I could pursue nursing school 100%. And I was like, okay, cool, or at least 80, 90%. And I had got a part-time job at Amazon. Like everything was working out perfect. Okay. So now found out I'm pregnant, first week of school. Cool. But I'm like, shoot, I already know that it's very delicate. It's a very delicate time. I'm in nursing school. I'm going to have to lift people and stuff like that. So I was already a little worried about like what I would be able to do next or like how things were going to work out. So I ended up going to the hospital because while I was in school, I started spotting. So every time I was spotting, I'm not going to lie to y'all, I was thinking miscarriage because I had never spotted with my first baby, like literally, unless it was the implantation bleeding. So I didn't spot with her. So I thought it was probably a miscarriage or something. You go on Google and Google is scaring you too. So I went ahead and went to the doctor and they were like, yes, it's subchorionic hematoma. They had to do like a intrauterine ultrasound and they saw the blood clot in my uterus. And they told me right then and there, like, this is known as a threatened miscarriage. And if this grows bigger, if the blood clot gets bigger, your baby could die. Okay. So from the beginning, it was a lot of warfare with that pregnancy. It was so much going on. I was so stressed out. And I'm like, at the same time, me and my boyfriend at the time, my husband now, had so many relationship problems. We were not getting along. Mind y'all, we were not dating very long at that time. Like, I got pregnant when we were only dating for like 6 months. So don't judge me as my husband now. But and then I would not recommend fornicating. Okay. I don't recommend it. Stay away from fornicating. The Bible tells us to flee from sexual immorality. Keep your butts out of fornication. Is that serious? Like, I'm telling y'all. So anyway, fast forward to about 4 months into the pregnancy, because I had to go into my appointments kind of late during this pregnancy. They were being kind of weird, like, yeah, you can't come into your 8 weeks, and then everybody was booked out. So I go in around about 14 weeks, maybe. At this point, I already know that I'm having a girl. And I was just hoping that everything was okay. I didn't think that anything was going to come out of it because I already had my first baby. So I'm like, okay, cool, this is going to be easy. When they say that every pregnancy is different, believe them. I've had 4 different pregnancies, and each pregnancy has been different. Some easier, some harder. But this was by far the hardest pregnancy. So with the blood clot in my uterus, the hematoma was there, and I literally was praying day in, day out about the same thing, because what a hematoma felt like to me was, it was just like you felt like your period was about to come on, but clearly my period is not about to come on because I'm pregnant. So it was just like the pressure, kind of like this heaviness in your uterus. And it just felt like, oh my goodness, like, come on now. And I literally used to tell God, like, God, if you're going to take the baby from me, just do it early. Like, don't wait until I start to get close to this baby. I just want you to go ahead and take the baby now, if that's what you plan on doing. Because I'm not even really able to deal with that. But I'd rather it be early on than to be, 5-6 months down the line and then I lose my baby. So I prayed really, really hard one night. I had been praying this whole time, y'all. And this is like, it's miracles upon miracles about this birth story, about this healing of my body. So I prayed and I just asked God, I'm like, Lord, like, can you please help me? Like, I've been praying to you. I got frustrated with him because I'm like, it's been weeks and weeks. Mind y'all, I found out I was pregnant around 5 weeks. I started spotting around 6 weeks. First trimester is 12 weeks long. So y'all can only imagine how impatient I was from bleeding every single day for at least 6 weeks. And I'm like, is the baby gonna be okay? Is it not gonna be okay? Am I gonna lose the baby? Am I not gonna lose the baby? Like, this is the thoughts that's going on in my head every single day. So I'm just like, Lord, I need you to do this for me. Like, God, please, please heal me. Like, I don't want to lose my baby. I prayed about it, y'all. I kid y'all not. I go to sleep that night. I stayed in this apartment by myself. So my husband, he wasn't there. He lived in North Carolina at the time, so we were not living together. So I prayed and I went to sleep. And I kid y'all not, that night I felt massages in my stomach. And it felt like somebody was literally pushing down so hard, massaging my uterus. Not my stomach, my uterus. And I remember like turning around and feeling like uncomfortable, but not really knowing what was going on. And then I got up the next morning and I started to remember, like, I felt, massages in my uterus and stuff like that. So I go to the restroom and a blood clot comes out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was going to freak out. But I literally was about to cry and I heard the Holy Spirit, now that I know, because I'm deep in faith now. But it was the Holy Spirit just reassuring me that everything was okay. And that, oh, you remember what happened last night? There was massages in your stomach. Like, all this stuff started coming to my memory. And I was like, this baby is okay. So I went to the doctor. And then, because I had to go check, I was like, I'm still going to be careful. So I went to the doctor and they were like, yeah, everything's fine. You don't have any subchorionic, the hematoma's gone, da, da, da. So that's one part of him healing me. Now we're going to get into the incompetent cervix, y'all, because I've had 2 additional babies after the baby that I had the incompetent cervix with. And the baby I had the incompetent, she's 3. So I've had 2 more kids after her. But so moving forward, I go in and I have to get the testing done around about 14 weeks. When I go in and get the testing done, they check, they see, oh, you have markers for Down syndrome. Your hormone levels are extremely high for you to only have 1 baby. So now I'm going through more trials, more tribulations during this pregnancy. So now I'm literally freaking out, crying, And I'll probably insert a video or something or a little clip of it. I'm 16 weeks and 4 days according to my baby's measurements. Yesterday, I got some really hard news. And I just don't know what to make of it. And I'm just so frustrated. So today is January 5th, 2022. So I'm starting off the year pretty horrible. You feel me? Again, I went to the doctor's office finally because it took me a long time to get an appointment. So I went to the doctor on December 30th, 2021. And they did blood tests. They did the heartbeat check, just making sure her heart was there. It's a girl, by the way. Making sure she had a heartbeat. They did a pap smear. They checked my cervix. They also just checked my blood, and they used that to test for different things like genetic issues, chromosomal issues, and all of that. So yesterday, on January 4th, 2022, I got a call from the doctor's office. And they told me that everything came back normal except one thing. And they told me that for me to be 23 years old, my normal percentile for, the odds of having a baby with Down syndrome should normally be between 1 in 1100. But mine was 1 in 60. So they just said it's high risk that my daughter could possibly be born with Down syndrome. And this is my second baby, so my first one I didn't have this problem. I even went back on her charts to see what her percentile was, and hers was 1 in 1400. I was crying so hard, and it was to the point that I was like, God, because my oldest daughter, she's always been like very, hyperactive and stuff like that. And I was just like, I'm already having to deal with her. I got to try to work. I got to try to do this. I got to try to do that. And you mean to tell me that you're going to try to give me a baby that also has special needs? How am I going to do this? Like, how would that look? How is my life going to look? I don't even know what to do with a baby that has special needs, And then, just looking up all the stuff because you start to research. So I'm looking up all the different symptoms and the different ways that they behave and lifespans and this and that. And it's just freaking me out even more. So I literally told God, like, God, listen, I would rather, like, I was literally thinking of termination. And mind y'all, I wasn't saved at the time, but I've never been a believer in abortions. And I had the doctors like trying to encourage me. And they were just like, well, if this is what, because babies with Down syndrome, they this and that, da, da, da. And there was a part of me that was like, I have to just still love this baby regardless of what happens. Like, I can't be embarrassed of my baby. I can't be embarrassed of her. I love her already. And it's not going to just go away just because I get rid of her because of something that she can't even help. And then I'm like, well, God, what did I do wrong? Why? Why would I have to worry about that? I had so many questions, y'all. And I cried my eyes out for about 10 days because they had to call me and let me know what the testing said. I had to do genetic testing. They was like, well, we can do this, but you can still, the baby can still have Down syndrome and this and that. We'll have to do what they call it, amniocentesis or something like that, when they have to draw amniotic fluid from your stomach and then they test it like that. But I didn't want to go that far. I was like, no, y'all not sticking a needle in my stomach. I'm not doing that. So I ended up allowing them to just do the blood work. And then the lady called me on the exact 10th day. And she was just like, hey, so everything came back fine. The baby doesn't have Down syndrome. Your levels are, we don't understand why they're so high, but blah, blah, blah. Cool. Thank you, Jesus. Because I had been praying and I had been asking God. And I was like, God, please, 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 please don't let her have Down syndrome. Please heal her. So this is a second prayer answered. I'm getting chills a little bit thinking about it because God was really there the entire time. And I sat there and I cried and I was freaking out. And now hindsight 2020 is like, just trust God. Just trust him. He got it. He said he's gonna do it. He got it. Okay. So, and my job, I know my faith was screwed. So this is a person that y'all talking about had little to no faith. Okay. Not because I just, didn't believe that, like, not because I didn't like believe in him, but it was more so because of like hurt and stuff like that. And sometimes I've asked him for stuff and it hasn't happened, but now I understand it's because it more than likely just wasn't in his will. So that was the second thing that God answered for me. So fast forward a few weeks later, because I had frequent doctor's appointments. When I say frequent, I'm talking about I had about 2 to 3 doctor's appointments about every week until I got around the end of my pregnancy. So that is why, that's when, like, when we get into about the 16th, 17th week, that is when they discovered the incompetent cervix. So it was just like every time it seemed like things were getting better, there would be another challenge placed in my face. And then it seemed like that one would be a little greater than the challenge before. So it was so frustrating, y'all, because I noticed with her, and when I was pregnant with her, I would literally feel like she was kicking me in my vagina. It would feel like her feet were directly down there. Like that's the best way I could describe it. So I'm just like, I didn't go in for nothing, didn't think nothing of it. I was just like, dang, she's just sitting real low, right? So I go for a regular checkup, and then they do a ultrasound, and they were like, hold on, your cervix is like open. And I'm like, huh? What y'all mean it's open? So then they showed me, and literally the lady would push in my stomach, and my cervix would just whoop. And it was literally like, if this was a cervix, imagine this middle piece of my fingers being my cervix. That's just the line. But then it opens up this much, and all you got is at that piece at the top that's left. And I'm talking about the knuckles. I'm not even talking about the fingers touching. It was barely anything left. So they were like, yeah, we're going to put you on progesterone, this and that. And we'll talk about a cerclage, a cervical cerclage and stuff like that. Y'all, I cried so much because I was still I got another job because I left school, by the way. Didn't mention that. I left school once I realized that I couldn't work because I couldn't work at Amazon if I already had a, spot and stuff like that. So I ended up getting another job full time and working at this job for a few months. And now they're like, hey, you can't even sit up in your chair. You can't sit at a desk all day because you're putting pressure on your cervix, and your cervix can continue to open up and you can have this baby way earlier than what you're supposed to. So now here we go. Boom, boom, boom. This is around March. Yeah, so they were like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't work. We need you on bed rest. Got paperwork, everything. My job at the time did not pay. They did not have no short-term disability. I didn't know nothing about no short-term disability or what the options were. Now, the job that I just left, great benefits. My last 2 pregnancies, whole time I'm getting paid. I was getting paid the entire time for at least 3 months. So, yeah. So now I'm out of work earlier than what I'm supposed to be out of work. I am now trying to figure out what I'm gonna do because I still have bills. I have a car note, I have a phone bill, I have car insurance, I have all the stuff that's going on in my life. And my dad, my biological dad, is gone. He passed away when I was only 4 years old. So it's been 23 years now. So I have a stepdad, Jermaine. Shouts out to him because he stepped in. He stepped in. He helped. And he was like, look, I'll pay. He was like, calculate your bills, tell me how much it is, and I'll pay this much for these amount of months. Now, the good thing is, too, it was around March, like I said, so tax season had rolled around, and I'm not a person that normally just spends money and goes crazy on it. Like, I try to balance things out. So I was like that then, too. And I was like, look, let me just keep the stuff up. Now, the good thing is I was in a HUD apartment. So HUD, if y'all know how that works, is income based. And then when I stopped working, because they put me out on leave, when I stopped working, they couldn't charge me rent. So I didn't have rent, but I did have, like, utilities, car, food, stuff like that, stuff for my baby, because it was just me and my oldest daughter, and then still trying to prepare for a new baby. So my stepdad talked to him one day because me and my boyfriend at the time, my husband now, we were not getting along. And he was just like, basically like, he could try to help me, but he was more focused on what he had to do at the time, which was trying to get an apartment in North Carolina and stuff like that, which I understood it was like bad timing. But for me personally, it was just kind of pissing me off because I guess I've never really had a man to lean on. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, I felt like he was choosing other stuff above me and his baby. And I'm just like, come on now. Like, you know, if it was you, I would help you. So he was just like, yeah, he didn't say he wasn't gonna help, but it was just like, I'm gonna help you, but I gotta try to do this stuff first. And I'm just like, bro, we don't have much longer. This baby is due in June. Okay, so you're talking about doing this. I need help now. Okay. So anywho, we fell out all about that because it just everything just went up. So I literally just had my stepdad and my mom and my grandmama them, like everybody helped me, and I was fine because God sent people in my life that were willing to help me. No offense to my husband, I'm not using this to try and make him sound like a bad guy because my man take care of me. Don't play with him. Okay, he takes care of me in multiple ways. So anyway, I ended up going through that little process, y'all. So literally around about 28 weeks, not long after they diagnosed me with an incompetent cervix, they did not do a cervical cerclage. They literally just was like, yeah, you got these progesterone pills. We're going to prescribe them to you. And I had to insert a pill. It was a little like oval sized pill, very, very small like this. And it was like a yellow orange color or whatever. And I had to insert that inside of myself every single night. I believe twice a day, if I'm not mistaken. So I think in the morning and then at night. And I still was on very strict bed rest. And y'all got to keep in mind, because my cervix was so short, the kicks were very intense with this baby. So it wasn't like the normal, oh, they're kicking me, boom, boom, boom. You might get a little bit uncomfortable down there. No, this literally always felt like she was about to come out. I would feel her kicking my cervix hard. So it was times I'm on all fours. I'm literally crying and there's nothing I can do. And mind y'all, she was very hyperactive. Very, very, very active, a very active baby. Around the end of my pregnancy, y'all, I was so frustrated. I used to literally be in there crying and I would take Tylenol PM on purpose to try and go to sleep because I had pregnancy insomnia. So I would take Tylenol PM on purpose to go to bed. And this baby will wake me up all the time, kicking me in my cervix. And just, it would be nights where I'm just up literally into the sunrise. It was hard. Again, that was the worst pregnancy I've had. But I would do it all over again for my baby. I love her so much. Around 28 weeks, I went in because I was cramping. I was having some pain and stuff like that, you know. And they told me, hey, you start hurting, you need to come in because that could always be a sign that you were going into preterm labor. So I went in. Y'all, I was in preterm labor. I was in preterm labor. I forgot how they couldn't really tell me how much my cervix was dilated because it was already pretty much open. But I will say, and then they were very hesitant. They would not check me like that because they was like, okay, if we touch you and we will put our fingers up there, that could literally trigger labor. So around 28 weeks, I was in the hospital and I was told that I was going to have to get airlifted to Orlando. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida at the time. So I was going to have to get airlifted to Orlando, 2 hours away, because they had no places for the NICU babies. They checked my cervix and they were all very concerned. Like nurses, doctors, they was like, look, you don't have much of a cervix left that's not open. So we're going to have to go ahead and get you. Mind you, it's like 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. It's late. I still got my 3-year-old at home. I'm not talking to my baby daddy, who is my husband now. I wasn't talking to him. I changed my number because I was so frustrated about everything that was going on. And then here they talk about, oh, this wasn't even long. I'm talking about weeks, y'all. I don't remember how many weeks I was. Y'all bear with me because all of this happened within the same, like, probably about 2 weeks apart, roughly. So I just was like, look, I changed my number and stuff. And then that night, I finally called him. I was like, hey, so they're saying that I might have to get airlifted here. Da, 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 da. You know, there's not much that I can do, but I just want to let you know that I'm probably going to have the baby tonight. And they were like, so I asked the lady, I'm like, well, if I have her tonight, what's the chance of her living? Because at that point, I think I had to be anywhere between 26 and 28 weeks. It was probably about 26 or probably 24 to 26 weeks. I don't know, but I know it was very early to the point where they were like the birth rate and that type of stuff. They did not survive. Like it was a very low chance of survival, especially if I didn't get her to like the proper care that she needed. So y'all can only imagine. I'm crying. I'm in there praying. And here go God answering the prayer again. Because all of a sudden, contraction stopped. Suddenly, contraction stopped. Suddenly, I wasn't in pain no more. Suddenly, they didn't feel the need to let me have the baby. I really don't even know the reasoning behind it, y'all. But they just was like, okay, we're going to keep you here for a couple of days. They kept me there for like 2 more days, monitored me. That was it. They let me go home. I started going back in, praying every day, praying every day, praying every day. Service looking better. Your service is looking better. It looks good. It looks good. It looks good. Nothing but God. Thank you, Jesus. Shout out to you. So then I did still end up having her early, just to kind of sum everything up. I did have her early, but I had her at 35 weeks in a few days, probably like 35 weeks in 4 days. And she was completely fine. And I'll insert a little clip of my birth.
6, okay, she's right there, Taylor. 8, oh, 9, 10. Quick, keep that and right back down on it. You got this, girl. Oh, she's almost there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Harder.
Oh, look at my hair, Mom.
7, keep it up. 8, 9, and 10.
Oh, wow. You're doing real good. You're doing real good. Breathe.
She's right there, Taylor.
Take deep breaths. Right. Mama right here. Come on. Go. You're doing good, baby. You're doing good.
That's great.
She comes and she is. All right.
Take deep breaths. Wait for a second.
Hold on for a second. Hold on.
No.
Hold on.
Breathe if you can. Good. We have a neutral times 1 reduced.
Take a deep breath and go again.
Come on. Ooh.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, good, Kayla. She is out.
Oh, she's so cute. Oh, she was just like you.
Born, she was healthy. There was absolutely no NICU stay, which was so amazing. I got to take her home. And God healed me, y'all. And I say that's why I'm titling the video, God healed my incompetent cervix, because I saw a video earlier about this lady losing faith because she had so many miscarriages, which a lot of that has to do with spiritual sides too, the spiritual realm, because I know for a fact during that pregnancy, I was being attacked. There were times where I would literally see demons on my bed and like coming up to me, but I couldn't make out if it was reality or if it was, if I was asleep. But I remember that. I remember it vividly, and it happened so many times. So God, listen, if you are not a believer in Jesus Christ, I need you to stop what you're doing. I hope that this testimony helps you in some type of way. This is only just a snippet of my testimony. I've been through so much more stuff. God has really shown up and showed out in my life. But this is something that I like to talk about because you just don't know who's dealing with that. But God can heal infertility. God can heal you of anything. He healed me so many times during that pregnancy. Y'all don't understand. That baby she was not supposed to be here. She was not supposed to be here. I know she wasn't supposed to be here. If it had anything like the enemy had any say so, she was not supposed to be here. But now my baby is 3 years old. She is thriving. She's so smart. She's so vibrant. She is a little bossy. Now she's 3, but she ain't letting everybody boss her around. My oldest, she's 7 now. And I'm telling y'all, she will go head on with the older sister. So she ain't nobody to play with. But my baby is like, she's such a blessing. And I thank God for him healing my body. And I hope that this encourages somebody because like I said, God can heal you. God can heal your incompetent cervix. I've had 2 pregnancies since then. Both of them were almost full term. Now, one of them, she was the third one. That's the one I was scared of because I was like, shoot, if I had an incompetent cervix with her at my job with my third baby, I got pregnant when my second baby was only 6 months. So y'all can only imagine like the fear. Baby, I just had the worst pregnancy of my life. The worst pregnancy. And you mean to tell me 6 months in, we're not even trying. At this point, we're abstaining from sex. I moved with him to North Carolina. We slipped up one good time and I was knocked up. And I was like, oh, and it wasn't even like, not to get too like vulgar, but it was no type of insemination that happened. So my third baby, we always was like, yeah, this is definitely a miracle baby because we don't even understand how she got in there. I had no idea I was pregnant. I didn't even think I was pregnant, if I'm being real. I've had 2 pregnancies after that. That third baby, I had her child. That was the longest pregnancy. Not even joking. God proved himself. He proved himself. She was born at 39 weeks on the dot. 7 pounds, 5 ounces. She didn't even want to come. I was 5 centimeters dilated, and y'all, when I tell y'all, the water wouldn't break, nothing happened. I was so aggravated at the end of that pregnancy because I got so big. We had so much going on. I had to move again because y'all, we're a military family, so we moved from North Carolina to Georgia. Really, from North Carolina to Florida to Georgia. So there was a lot going on. And then with my 4th baby that I had on Valentine's Day, I asked God to have her on Valentine's Day, so I think that's very cool. I was 36 weeks and 4 days when she was in the NICU, which is kind of crazy, but she was in the NICU for 2 weeks, which is also another testimony I want to give. I got videos, all of that stuff from when I was in the NICU. I'll be posting that too. But yeah, that was an experience. I was sad, but she's fine. She's in the room. She's asleep now. 9 months old. Just went and got some shots today. Absolutely fine. Although it was a NICU stay, I'd rather it be that than me losing my baby. So God is still amazing. God is great. He's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we could ever ask or think. He's able to do all things. Asking you shall receive, seeking you will find, knocking the door will be open unto you. It's all about your faith. Even with me, with very little faith at the time, he still did it. Imagine that. And I do want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you. If you have not already, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. I pray that this testimony helps somebody. If y'all have any questions, comment below. I'll try my best to go through each question and answer those for y'all. But I pray on today that God blesses you in abundance and gives you peace. In Jesus' name. Have a great day.
About that time I take a deep dive and I go all in. Faith like I'm walking